What's up, Josh here. These are the brand new Beats Studio Pros. And at first glance, you might be thinking, these look oddly similar to the current Beats Studio 3s, which are a 6-year-old pair of headphones at this point. And spoiler alert, they are. These new Beats Studio Pros are actually using the same recycled 6-year-old design of the current Beats Studio 3s. From the same notched headband, to the same non-folding ear cups that also fold in, to the same creaky, plasticky construction. Now the saying goes that you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Well, here's an old dog and it's got some new tricks. I've been using these for the past week and here is my full review of the Beats Studio Pros. Let's get into it. So first, let's address the elephant in the room. Why did Beats reuse the same 6-year-old design? And when we asked Beats, their response was something along the lines of this design being iconic, which seems like a bit of a cop-out answer considering that these are the Pro versions. I don't know why they didn't redesign these. Now, to Beats' credit, there are 3 things that I do actually still like about this design. The first thing is looks. Surprisingly, still in 2023, these headphones look quite modern and sleek, and I guess they do have that iconic and bold Beats design. The second thing I like is how it folds down. So a lot of headphones now have moved over to like this non-folding design. Beats have shipped this product with a flexible, portable case. And when you zip it up, it's actually a very small package when you compare it to something like the Bose 700's case or the Sony XM5's case. You can see that's much smaller and much more portable, so I like that. The third thing that I like about these headphones is their multimedia controls, which are actual physical buttons instead of the touch gesture controls that you get on the Boses and the Sonys. So they're very tactile. You can go volume up, volume down really fast, and then you can just press in the middle to play or pause. You can also press and hold in the middle for your voice assistant. But that's about where the positives end. The biggest complaint I have with this headphone is that. Can you hear that? There's a lot of creaking involved, and I think that has to do with just this overall plastic construction, and it just doesn't sound or feel high quality when you touch it. Another thing I don't like is this headband. So when you go to grab it, it kind of digs into your hand, which is not a great feeling. Also, the bottom padding on the actual headband is not very thick. So after about an hour of use, you will notice a bit of a pressure point on the top of your head. The other thing I don't like is this notched headband. It's just not a very pleasant way to adjust your headphones. It feels very clunky as opposed to the Boses. They slide nicely and don't have any of that notched feeling. The other thing I think needs improvement is this power button. So it's quite small, but you do get used to it after a while. I mean, here's the thing. At this point, with the way that consumers expect visual designs, it's just not acceptable for Beats to be using a 6-year-old design. Like, at least change something about it. While the design is fine and I can nitpick about a couple of things like ergonomics and buttons, really at the end of the day, it's the principle of the matter. So yeah, that's the design. But now let's talk about the new tricks. Inside of these headphones, we do get brand new custom drivers as well as a new chip powering the whole thing. Now to talk about all of the improvements, I'm gonna break it down into these 4 categories. So there's comfort, active noise canceling and transparency mode, cross-platform compatibility, and sound quality. Now first up, let's talk about comfort. So these have brand new ear pads, so they're now more plushier and more comfortable. My experience testing these, they were pretty comfortable. In fact, when we compare the thickness of the ear pads, you can see that the Beats actually have some nice thickness to them, whereas the Sonys actually have quite a slim profile. So I feel that the Beats are definitely more comfortable than the Sonys. But then when we compare it to the Bose, I'd say they have about the same thickness, but the Boses have actually a larger ear hole opening, so it actually goes over my ear, whereas these ones sort of sit on the edges of my ear, which is not as comfortable. If I were to rank these, I would put the Boses on top, then the Beats, than the Sonys. Again, I would have loved to see more padding on top. You may start to notice a hot spot after like an hour or 2 of use, but it's not that bad. Overall, comfort gets a thumbs up from me. Then we move on to active noise canceling and transparency mode. Now, as far as active noise canceling goes, these are pretty good. When you compare it to the Boses and the Sonys, they're about on par. The Boses might be slightly better at canceling out bass, and then the Sonys might be slightly better at canceling out mids, but when you zoom out, these are about on par as the competition. Now, they're not gonna get rid of noise like completely, so if you're not playing music, you're still gonna hear like your fan next next to you or whatever's happening outside. But as soon as you play some music, even at a slightly lower volume, it does get rid of most of that sound completely. And then when we talk about transparency mode, it's also more of the same story. It's not as good as the AirPods Pro 2nd Gen or the AirPods Max, but it's about on par as the Bose 700s and the Sony XM5s. These also get adaptive transparency, so if you're running like a blender or something loud happens, these will adapt and bring those noises down as to not damage your hearing. Overall, as far as ANC and transparency mode, they're about average, which is to say pretty good. Now, cross-platform compatibility. So Beats have not put an H2 chip into this headphone. Beats have designed their own chip that does most of what the H2 chip does, but now also caters to the Android market as well. So on both iOS and Android, you're gonna get one-touch pairing as well as Find My support. On iOS, you also get voice-activated Siri. However, this is the big one. Multi-point connect is only supported for Android at the moment. If you have an iPhone, seamless switching is not going to be supported, which is really weird coming from Beats, which is owned by Apple. You're going to have to go into the Bluetooth settings and then just manually click, which I know is a first world problem, but for some people that is a feature that is pretty nice, especially on the Sonys. I've been using multi-point connect for quite some time and it's really convenient. Now on iOS, we don't get an app because all of the settings and features are integrated into iOS. So things like the battery level and then all of the settings are available to you in the Bluetooth settings or the control center. With Android, you do get the Beats app where you can do most of the same things, although you won't be able to take advantage of spatial audio. All right, next up, let's talk about sound quality. So on the Beats, they've actually toned down the bass quite dramatically. The sound signature on these reminds me a lot of the Boses. They have a very neutral sound signature, and to a lot of people, I've said this before, it's gonna sound slightly boring. These sound fine, like they get really clear and they get really loud and very distortion free at the higher volumes, but I don't know, they're missing a bit of character and like full bodiedness. They just sound very neutral. I wish that there was some sort of customization. Now, for some people who like the neutral sound signature, these are gonna be great. I think they have good clarity. It just sort of depends on what you're looking for. The nice thing with the Sonys though is that you can fully customize them with a really nice EQ. And so that's why I personally prefer using the Sony XM5s. Now, the one slight redeeming factor is that these support USB-C playback. So with the included USB-C cable, if you plug it into your audio source, you will get access to high-res and lossless playback. So if you use a music streaming service like Apple Music or Tidal or any other one that supports lossless playback, you're gonna experience a much higher clarity and a lot more bit rate. The other thing that's really, really interesting that I don't fully understand is they've implemented EQ profiles on this headphone. But the thing is, to access those EQ profiles, you have to be plugged in via USB-C. And then the other confusing thing is that the way to change between these profiles is by double tapping the power button, which is the same shortcut that you use to change between active noise canceling and transparency mode. It's also hard to tell which EQ profile you're in because all they do is beep at you, so there's no like voice telling you what profile you're in. I'm not gonna talk much more about the EQ profiles just because they're very poorly implemented in my opinion, and I just don't know if anybody is actually gonna use that feature. Now the mic quality has also been upgraded according to Beats, but in my opinion, it's nothing to write home about. It sounds fine, but yeah, I'll let you be the judge of that. Now to wrap this video up, let's talk about price. So at $350, there are, some other very solid contenders in this space. The Sony XM5s have dropped down to, I think, about $300. The Bose 700s are also very good. I've used these for like 5 years. Sonys, like I said, have a better sound, better customization. The Boses have about the same sound as these new Beats, but they do have some customization, which is nice. Overall, I think there are 2 reasons to consider these Beats Studio Pros. The first one is gonna be style. And I mean, a lot of people are gonna like how this looks. Beats has that very recognizable and iconic branding that a lot of people are gonna like. But then the second reason is gonna be portability. These fold down really nicely and they also come with a really nice pouch. And so yeah, that's my review of the Beats Studio Pros. If you're interested, I'll have links down below. You can use those links to support the channel. I'll also include links to these other earphones. I have a review on the Bose 700s. I haven't reviewed the XM5s yet just because I received them a little bit late. You can bet that when the XM6 come out, I'll definitely review those. Definitely subscribe to the channel if this video helped you out or was entertaining. I'm trying to hit 200,000 subscribers, so any subscription would be greatly appreciated. Lastly, leave a like on your way out. Have a great day, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.